A transfer of rulership is coming, and the kingdom of heaven will be on earth. Righteousness will be spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Wickedness will be put down. The Lord is going to put us back in our land, man, through Yahweh Shai. We're going to be sovereign. We're going to rule. We're going to win. We're going to have everything in abundance, man. Our heart's desire, and our enemies will be our footstool.
Isaiah 14. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the stranger shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them, and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve.
When we come down now, we can say this. Them people, when we come back to Earth, as the X-Men, Marvel comic, DC comic men, the Thanoses and the Kal-Els and so forth, when we come back down with superhuman, extraterrestrial, celestial bodies, they may attempt to fight us like we're aliens. And we're going to kick much ass, and we're going to have fun kicking their ass. I'm talking about the people around the world. That's what it's meant by the saints of the Most High, the Israelites, starting with the men, will take the kingdom.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing salutations to the whole elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. All right, and what I want to get into, today, all right, as we see, World War III update, and what we're seeing is war, these conflicts going to a new phase, okay, because as the small hats have pretty much, abandoned, Gaza, now the majority of their forces and resources are being, concentrated, all right, towards the, they're being prioritized towards the northern, border, all right, with Hezbollah. There's rumors of a ground invasion, to come in the coming days. That's going to be interesting, all right, and we see very intense, airstrikes, and usually when you see airstrikes that intense, they're softening up, okay, the resistance, okay, for the incoming ground invasion, that's going to be interesting. And it's going to put a lot of pressure on Hezbollah, to respond, and show up. And it's going to put a lot of pressure on Iran, and these small hats are pressing, they're at the point where they're pressing, pretty hard, in the northern, border, okay, with Lebanon, which is, pretty much the home, base, okay, of Hezbollah. Now, what we're seeing, all right, let's go here, all right, because what we're seeing is that as they engage Hezbollah, this is activating, other players, okay, to get involved in this region of the earth, you know, and what's doing this is Yahweh Bashim al Shah, okay, is causing these nations to be ruffled up. So let's get a few precepts, and then I got a few videos. We'll go from there. So this is Isaiah 13:1. It said, "The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see, lift thee up a banner upon a high mountain, exalt a voice unto them, shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles." Okay, and this is a commandment, okay, for the prophets, to lift up the banner of the scriptures against this high government, man, this beast system, okay, of Esau, Edom, and mainly of America, all right, which rides, the whore that rideth the beast, she's the most exalted, okay, within this system, all right. But the Lord has raised up prophets, all right, to shake the hand, to tell, all right, these devils about themselves, man, especially here in America. Okay, verse 3, it says, "I have commanded my sanctified ones, which are the prophets. I have also called my mighty ones, the angels, for mine anger." So we just verbalize the anger of the Lord. But Yahweh Shai and the mighty ones are going to express that anger, all right, through war. Okay, even them, they rejoice in my highness, because we know the angels, they was created just to please the will of Yahweh Bashim al Shah. And whatever it is pleasing to the angels. They rejoice to get a commandment from the Heavenly Father, man. Okay, verse 13 and 4. Well, this is what is all leading to. We're seeing the build up to this. All right. It said the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people. And this is speaking about, all right, those ICBMs, okay, which are going to invade America like a great army. Okay, it says a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. Yeah, because it's going to be a collective. Okay, it's going to be ICBMs from a conglomerate. Okay, of nations, man. It's going to be a band of nations that come together. Okay, to destroy Babylon. Okay, those ICBMs are going to be like ambassadors. Okay, for the nations of the earth that have this nuclear capability, man. Everyone that been the boat, everyone that has nuclear capability will launch on America, man. All right. It says the Lord of hosts muster it. All right. It says the Lord of hosts mustered the host of the battle. So the scriptures say that the Lord is mustering. So we're seeing the Lord. He's instigating. Okay, this conflict because he got a spirit on the small heads. They got no chill. Okay, them niggas have no chill, man. So you go here to the word mustard in the Hebrew, which is baquad. All right, it says to attend. Okay, and it says to I want to get. It says to appoint, to assign. Okay, to appoint, to assign. So it's the Lord. All right, that's orchestrating. These escalations. Okay, it's Yahweh Bashim al Shah that's instigating. You see, and setting up these things to a point, all right, an overseer, okay, and ultimately it's through Yahweh Shai, because all judgment is given to Yahweh Shai, man. So we're seeing, all right, our power, okay, instigate and muster the host of the battle, okay, till there's no other option on the table but for these nations to go to war. They're pity patting, trying to drag their feet. Nah, man, y'all gotta take y'all ass to war, man. Okay, all y'all ass tighten up, man. IDF keep putting that pressure on their ass. All right, Hezbollah, y'all got to tighten your ass up. Okay, because it's been 8-9 days. Smoke from IDF, man. Okay, y'all gonna have to answer in a major way. Okay, Iran got to tighten y'all ass up over there. Okay, everybody need to get get in gear. But it's all in the Lord's time. But we're just seeing these things play out real time. Now, I want to go here because what these small hats are doing in Hezbollah, we have to understand. Hezbollah, is a major, you know, militant group, okay, in Lebanon, and they represent, Iran. They're an extension of Iran in their region. So they're very strategic, okay, when it comes to, the conflict with our with the small hats, the IDF, and Iran has a lot of interest to keep, those militants in their position, you know, because that gives them, an advantage, okay, to place missiles on the borders, okay, of Hezbollah, because as you know, Russia gets weaponry from Iran. Iran can funnel those weapons, okay, to Hezbollah, okay, and Iran, okay, can't stand by and watch Hezbollah, be wiped wiped out by the small hats, okay, and Russia can't stand by and watch Iran, okay, be diminished, and become, pro West. Their military pretty much, defeated, and America, props up puppet governments in Iran, which is going to make them what, anti-Russia. So Russia can't allow that to happen because they got too many interests in Iran. So what we're seeing is Russia becoming more active, in their region. Matter of fact, let me play this. All right, so Russia is becoming more active in their region of the East, showing you that all these nations eventually are going to be in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, slugging it out. All right, Yahweh Shaphat, the Most High judgment, and there he will sit and judge the nation, which we'll get. But let's play this, and we'll see, all right, that Russia, is getting more active, okay, in that region, okay. They're being a guard, as the scriptures, command Russia to do. When we read prophecy, remember those are commands from Yahweh Bashim Shai, okay, for these certain nations, certain people to move, in their lot, okay. So let's play this.
Proof of their direct engagement.
Russia's growing involvement in the Middle East, particularly in Lebanon and Syria, signals a significant shift in its strategy, marking a more assertive stance against Israel and the West. The Russian Federation, which has been embroiled in the ongoing war in Ukraine since 2022, now appears ready to expand its geopolitical chess game into the Middle East. This move is aimed at deterring Israel's frequent bombings of its allies in the region and curbing the flow of Western-supplied high-end weapons that threaten Russian interests and its partners in the Middle East. To understand why Russia is taking these bold steps, it's essential to consider its history with NATO. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union, NATO has viewed Russia as a potential challenge to its global dominance. The West, particularly the United States, had hoped that the weakened post-Soviet Russia would quietly accept its diminished role on the world stage. However, as Russia rebuilt itself under Vladimir Putin, it became clear that Moscow was not willing to be sidelined. Russia's objections to Western interventions in Iraq, Syria, Libya, and Yugoslavia reflected its dissatisfaction with a world order where NATO and the US could act unilaterally, often under the guise of enforcing a rules-based international order. Russia's growing opposition to NATO's unchecked power culminated in its decision to intervene in Syria in 2015. At that
So he's pretty much going to the history, all right, and Russia, has been treated like a stepchild, within this beast system. They've been treated like an Edomite, redhead Edomite stepchild within this beast system. And they wasn't allowed, certain opportunities that EU nations, will get, all right, because the West, looked at them as a threat to their global supremacy. So since Vladimir Putin has been in office, Russia has rebuilt militarily, economically, geopolitical as far as their different relationships, with certain nations. Okay. And Russia has become a big brother. All right. The scripts say the chief prince, okay, to what the world calls the Western hegemony. And that's when, another sovereign nation, all right, has authority and power and influence over other nations, okay, to where the decision making in America and in the West has a major effect, okay, on the other nations of the world, okay. So Russia, all right, pretty much, being the black sheep, this Edomite power structure, they've pretty much have projected themselves. And when you look at the wars, from post World War II, Vietnam, all right, the Korean War, all right, um, was another main one, the Cuban Missile Crisis, where there wasn't a war, okay, was Russia, posted missiles on Cuba. You see, pretty much after World War II, Russia and America have been fighting wars with each other through their proxy militaries, okay, and it's getting to the point to where America and Russia gonna have a direct clash. They've been dancing around each other throughout the earth. Okay, in Central South America, that Russia and America had these different, Central South American countries. Okay, fighting for their interests. In Vietnam, Russia and America had certain countries fighting for their interests. Afghanistan, America trained and armed Afghanistan to fight, against Russia. Okay. And, eventually Russia, all right, it got to the point, to where they started getting directly involved, in these, within these Western wars against, these smaller countries, man. So Russia, is looked at as a hero to these smaller nations that have been subjugated to this Western hegemony, man, Western influence and power. Okay. So we see Russia come from a stance of, they, all right, have to prop these nations up. Okay. Because if America and the West, continue to just dominate these nations and set up these pro-American puppet governments, okay, Russia, they're going to be cut out the deal even more, So Russia has stake in this thing, man. It ain't that they care, all right? Ain't that they besties with Hezbollah and Iran. Nah, this is an alliance of convenience. Okay, so let's play some more. Just want to go into the history, but yeah, let's play some more.
Time, the Assad government was on the verge of collapse, facing a well-armed opposition backed by the West. Russia's intervention was a game changer. It not only saved Assad, but also demonstrated that Moscow had regained the military and geopolitical strength to challenge Western dominance in a critical region. For NATO and the US, this was a bitter pill to swallow. Russia's ability to turn the tide in Syria signaled that it was no longer willing to tolerate Western interference in regions where it had
Unlock the world's largest, most liquid financial market with Forex.com.
Strategic interests. As the conflict in Europe rages on, Russia now appears to be extending its influence further into the Middle East. Recently, Russian air defenses engaged Israeli warplanes over Syria, marking a notable escalation. Of the 19 missiles fired by Israeli jets at the Syrian port city of Tartus, all were intercepted by Russian defenses. This incident is significant not just because it prevented a potential disaster in Syria, but because it sent a clear message to Israel and the West. Russia is prepared to defend its allies in the region, even if it means confronting a country like Israel, which has historically maintained cordial relations with Moscow. This newfound Russian resolve is also evident in Lebanon. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Hezbollah has drawn increasing Russian attention, with Moscow showing a willingness to intervene in ways that challenge Israel's freedom to strike targets across the region. The recent Russian interception of Israeli missiles aimed at Lebanese resistance fighters embedded with the Syrian army suggests that Moscow is now playing a more direct role in shaping the military dynamics of the Israel-Lebanon conflict. By limiting Israel's ability to strike at will, Russia is not only defending its allies, but also demonstrating that it can and will influence the outcome of conflicts that could potentially threaten its own strategic interests. Beyond Lebanon and Syria, Russia's moves in the region appear to be aimed at curbing Western influence more broadly. A recent report indicates that Russia is in talks with Iran about supplying advanced anti-ship missiles to Yemen's Houthi forces. If this deal goes through, it would provide the Houthis with the capability to target American and Western warships in the Red Sea, a critical region for global maritime trade. The missile in question, the P-800 Onyx, is a supersonic anti-ship weapon with a range of about 186 miles. By equipping the Houthis with such advanced weaponry, Russia would effectively raise the stakes in the ongoing conflict, turning Yemen into a potential flashpoint for US and European naval forces. The implications of this potential arms transfer are profound. The Red Sea is a key shipping route for global trade, and any escalation of hostilities there could have significant economic consequences. If the Houthis are able to effectively target commercial vessels, it would disrupt shipping routes and potentially provoke a military response from the West. More importantly, it would signal that Russia is willing to challenge Western military supremacy in regions far beyond its immediate borders. By arming the Houthis, Russia would not only be supporting an ally, but also complicating the West's ability to project power in the Middle East. This was what the Russia representative at the UN meant when he said Russia will balance Western acts in Europe with its own moves in the Middle East.
All right, so yeah, let's get some precepts. But just to kind of expound on what they were saying. So Russia, had intercepted some Israeli fighter jet missiles in Syria. Okay, and they effectively shot down 100% of those missiles. Okay, because Russia has pretty much the best missile defense. Okay, in the earth. Those S series, S-400, S-500. So that hardware is there. It's just a thing of Russia, using that hardware. And you see that they've activated in Syria. Now we have to understand that those small hats, the reason they're so effective is because of the Air Force. And Hezbollah doesn't have an Air Force. Okay. So they can't go toe to toe in the air with those small hats. All right. But what it changed the game, okay, if Russia, provided them with those even if it's a S-300, okay, those fighter jets, those missiles will be shot down, and potentially those fighter jets. And we're going to show you what Russia doing in Ukraine, okay? But if Hezbollah, had those defense systems, okay, those small hats will be greatly neutralized, but that's the advantage, that they have, is the Air Force, okay? That's why they talking about doing a ground invasion. That's where, Hezbollah, okay, has the expertise, because those are war-hardened men that's been fighting in Syria, for the last, dozen years or more. Okay. So, Russia is being a guard to those nations, as the scriptures say, and eventually Russia gonna get at them small hats, man. Okay, and, Russia and its allies gonna get up them small hats, and okay, those in Babylon. Okay, so let's read this, which we read all the time. We're gonna go in a little more in depth into the chapter. This is Ezekiel 34. It says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into their jaws. And we see Russia's being forced, to come forward, to be aggressive. Okay, because Russia, they want to keep their economy strong, and they really don't want to get into the mix like that. They've been showing great, restraint, but the Lord is forcing them, okay, through the actions of the West. It's the Lord got a spirit on the West, to constantly just poke at, and cross, certain red lines that Russia has, okay, daring them to do something, man. Okay. So it says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, and will bring thee forth, and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, man. With those shields goes into in defense. All right, all of them handling swords, which are the missiles. Okay, which they're talking about what equipping. Matter of fact, read this: at Persia, which is Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya, which represent those African nations. Okay, they're in league with Russia. Okay, because a lot of those, Africa is nothing but a big colony of the EU. Between French, okay, the British and America. All right, Africa is pretty much carved out, under those EU. All right, and American, okay, nations, man. Okay, those EU nations in America. Okay, and it says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them. And see, those African nations are, they're fed up, with the treatment of the West, to where the West, pretty much sets up all these industries and entities in Africa that capitalize off, the resources, while the people are impoverished. They're in a constant civil war, and just instability in governments. Okay, but their land is rich in resources that the West benefits off of, through the industries and entities that they set up. But but Russia, pretty much comes with those nations, with a better deal, which at the end of the day, they devils too. Okay. But like niggas say over here, Russia is the lesser of two evils. You see? And that's why you see everyone is getting under their banner of Russia. And it says all of them with shield and helmet, Gomar, which is Turkey and all his bands, the house of Togomar, the North Korea and all his bands, all their military, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them, man. Okay, so they're talking about equipping Yemen with those anti-tank ships, all right, which are supersonic. Okay, the Houthis shot off a hypersonic missile at Tel Aviv the other day. And you best believe it's more where that come from. You see, so where are they getting this high-tech weaponry, man? Russia, because Russia is commanded to be a guard unto them, man. Okay, and we're going to see Russia get more and more involved, okay, in this conflict in the Middle East, okay, in their region, to eventually Russian troops going to be in that area, man. Okay, verse 8, and it says, and after many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is bought back from the sword, which is the land of Israel, with those small hats, those devils settled in their land through different wars, beginning with the Balfour Declaration. Okay, but then they forced their way into the land through the sword. All right, and this gather of many people, those small hats coming, okay, from different places of Europe, really throughout the world, but mostly through Europe. All right, what they call them Ashkenazi, small hats. Okay, it says against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them, for a time. These small hats, had dwelt safely in the land, because those previous wars that they had, those small hats would end those wars quick. You had a 6-day war, okay, because they were so dominant because they was backed up by the West, and they had that superior weaponry, man. Those small hats would always have superior weaponry in the backing of the West, man. So they will put down, their resistance pretty quick. But see, now their resistance has gotten way stronger, to the point they've been battling, October 7th to be a year. So 7 days. We're talking about a year since this conflict has been going on. Okay. And they haven't, did much damage to the point, besides civilians. Okay. But militarily, they haven't weakened, those resistant groups, all right, in their region. They've destroyed a lot of infrastructure. They didn't kill a lot of personnel. Okay, but they haven't hindered, these nations' ability to resist, man. Okay, but I said they used to be able to end those wars quick. Verse 9, it says, "Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm." Okay, and this is, it's gonna get to the point Russia gonna just say F it, man, and just really pull up. It's gonna get to the point to where just supplying these weapons, these nations with weapons ain't gonna get it. They gonna have to physically come themselves, man. Okay, thou shalt be like a cloud, all right, because Russia's military that is over 2 million and growing. 2.2, 2.3 million. Okay, and it says to cover the land, thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. That's all those Russian alliances is going to be with them, man. North Korea, Iran, okay, China, okay, and other nations as well. Okay, and they're gonna come in their region to get busy, man. Before Yahweh Shah comes and clears the board, all right, with all these scrolls, man. All right, but got another video, so let's segue to another video. So, so let's go here since we talk about those missile defense systems. Well, this is what Russia is doing over there with Ukraine. Okay, it was Russia. I said Russia is being forced, all right, to be more aggressive and ultimately to go directly, at NATO. Because they've been dancing around each other, Russia and NATO. Okay, but now it's to the point to where they're gonna have to be in direct conflict, man. And it's the Lord that's mustering the host of the battle. So this is what Russia got going on with Ukraine, as that escalates. Okay. All these things happen at the same time, man, because it's all tied in together, man. Okay. This war is all these nations are linked and have interests and dependencies in some way to where they're going to be forced to fight. All right. You're not going to be able to sit on the sideline. Okay. You're going to be forced to jump in. Okay. All these nations, man. Okay. So let's play this.
Oh. It's over 5,000 miles per hour. The fastest speed at Mach speed is about 7,600 miles per hour. We rarely see that. But right now, from 4,500 up to about 6,000 miles per hour, those missiles are untouchable. By the time you have acquired it, it's vanished. You saw the Houthis who fired a missile 1,300 miles, and it reached its target inside of 12 minutes. I mean, that's astonishingly fast.
A missile traveled 1,300 miles in 12 minutes. You see? This is, what Russia is arming these certain nations with, man. And it can't be detected because once, those radars lock on the position of their missile, it's gone. It's way, because those radars, they track, and then they have to calculate the trajectory to hit, the projectile, but then it's moving so fast you can't get an accurate read on it. from those radars, man, which means that they can't be taken down. Okay, which means what? Hey, these small hats are going to be like an unwalled village, man, when these nations get active. Okay, America too.
Yeah, we just can't keep up with it. We can't track it because your radars have to operate at light speed to stay ahead of the missile that you've detected. So we right now, no, we can't shoot them down.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we bring you shattering news that's going to completely change the dynamics of the ongoing conflict. You've been wondering about the F-16s, the legendary fighter jets that the West said would change everything for Ukraine. And you've been asking, where is Russia's response and why haven't we seen Russia bring out the Kinzhal missiles in full force? Well, get ready because the game has just changed and Russia has made its move in a way that no one expected. A massive strike that is going to send ripples through Ukraine and its NATO allies. As Mr. Douglas McGregor has often pointed out, the West's overestimation of its capabilities and underestimation of Russia's precision and resolve is now coming back to haunt them. This is the moment that proves Russia is not backing down and their response will be decisive. Earlier this afternoon, Russia executed a truly massive strategic and precise attack that left no room for error. We're talking about the use of 4 Kinzhal missiles, yes, 4 of Russia's most advanced hypersonic weapons, each more valuable than several Iskanders combined. This wasn't just a show of force. It was a carefully calculated operation aimed at completely obliterating key Ukrainian military assets. And it wasn't just the Kinzhals. This strike was supported by a swarm of UAVs. That's right, a whole swarm, creating confusion in the skies of Ukraine while the Kinzhal zeroed in on their target. Now, let's be clear on the significance of this. The Kinzhal missile is no ordinary weapon. It travels at Mach 10, that's 12,000 kilometers per hour. These hypersonic speeds make it virtually unstoppable and impossible to intercept. Ukraine's air defenses were helpless. Imagine trying to stop a missile traveling 10 times faster than sound. It's a feat no modern system can achieve. And this wasn't just one missile, it was 4 of them. And why is that important? Because each Kinzhal missile cost $10 million, meaning Russia didn't hold back here, no half measures. $40 million worth of missiles were launched, and each one was aimed with surgical precision at a highly critical target in the Khmelnytsky region. Russia isn't wasting these missiles on random targets. No, this was a carefully coordinated strike with a clear objective: wipe out Ukraine's prized military assets. What's more, the use of UAVs created even more confusion. Drones were flying everywhere, drawing attention and likely confusing Ukrainian defenses. And when you pair that with the speed of the Kinzhal, it's a deadly combination that leaves no room for escape. Ukrainian forces didn't stand a chance. And now let's get to the heart of the matter. The F-16s, yes, those celebrated invincible, all-powerful American fighter jets that Ukraine was supposed to use to change the course of the Kim, according to multiple sources, including some Ukrainian ones. Though they are strangely not making this official Russia's strike at the Khmelnytsky airport may have wiped out 4 F-16s in a single blow. Think about that for a moment. What does this mean for Ukraine? Well, let's break it down. An F-16 costs upwards of $64 million per unit. That's over $250 million worth of aircraft wiped out in a matter of minutes. These were not just any F-16s either. These were fresh deliveries from the Netherlands meant to give Ukraine a fighting chance in the skies. But guess what? Before they could even take flight, they were destroyed on the ground by Russia's hypersonic missiles. And it doesn't stop there. The strike didn't just take out these jets, but according to reports, up to 11 Ukrainian pilots and engineers were also killed in this attack. Now, we're not just talking about the loss of equipment, we're talking about the loss of highly trained personnel, people who are difficult, if not impossible, to replace in the middle of a war. This is a devastating blow to Ukraine's Air Force and to its ability to operate the Western-donated jets. The destruction of 4 F-16s doesn't just hit Ukraine's military capabilities, it's a symbolic blow. It proves that even with all the Western military aid, Russia's precision strikes can obliterate those assets in an instant. But let's not forget, this isn't just about the F-16s. This is about showing that even Ukraine's most treasured assets, their most high-profile pieces of military equipment, aren't safe from Russian strikes. For those who still believe these Western weapons can turn the tide, this is a wake-up call. The F-16s, which the West has poured millions and millions into, are not untouchable. In fact, they are now nothing more than scrap metal. But this story doesn't end here. No, the destruction goes beyond just the F-16s. Russia's strike hit other critical targets too. Now, if you thought the F-16s were the only casualties in this massive strike, you'd be mistaken. The Kinzhals also targeted a Su-24 bomber, which had been upgraded by Ukraine to carry British-supplied Storm Shadow missiles. These missiles, which were meant to give Ukraine the ability to strike deep into Russian territory, didn't even make it off the ground. The Su-24 was obliterated before it could take off. Let's talk about those Storm Shadow missiles for a moment. These aren't cheap, folks. Each one costs around $2.5 million. According to reports, a storage facility containing 12 of these missiles was destroyed in this attack. That's $30 million in precision-guided weapons vaporized in a single strike. These missiles, touted by the West as game changers for Ukraine's military, were reduced to nothing before they could be used. This is a massive blow, not just to Ukraine, but to the Western nations that are supplying these arms. And it's not just about the money.
So yeah, what we see, okay, Russia, is showing their precision, okay, which, their precision, all right, as we know, Russia, got a lot of those German engineers after the war, those Teamanites, all right, those wise men and teaming, and ultimately it's the Lord, okay, because you go into prophecy, and they spoke about, how those missiles would hit, okay, but let's see, yep, this is Jeremiah 50:9 says, "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array." And the north country begins with Russia. Okay, going back to these alliances, man. Okay, showing you that the prophet's seeing the same thing. Jeremiah is seeing what Ezekiel was seeing. Okay, and it's happening now. And you let somebody trick you to think Ezekiel 38 is going to happen 1,000 years later in the kingdom. All right, you super stupid. Okay, this is happening right now as we speak. And it says, "And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence shall she be taken. Their arrows," which those missiles, all right, are arrows. Now these are nukes. Okay, but looking at these missiles that that from the video, they wasn't nuclear, but it shows you the technology, all right, that those Russians have, because the ultimate arrows are nukes, the ICBMs. It's going to, turn America into a desert. Okay, and we see, all right, the technology, the speed, okay, and the accuracy of Russia's missile program. Okay, how much more for those for those heavy hitters, those nukes, man? It said their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert, man. None shall return in vain. Yeah, none of those ICBMs is going to be shot off in vain. No, they're going to hit exactly what the Lord wants them to hit. Okay, to fulfill prophecy, man. You see, but it says as of a mighty expert, man. So the accuracy that we see on these missiles are all due to the Lord tapping into these Edomites, all right, and giving them this technology for speed, okay, precision, and their power. Okay, now what we have to understand, I got one more video, all right, but what we have to understand, when Russia begins to activate those missile defense systems throughout their region, America and those small hats is not going to have, because right now they can just go do all these airstrikes because they know, okay, that the Hezbollah, Hamas doesn't have anything, to deter them from doing those airstrikes. But when you start losing, see, it's one thing that you lose aircrafts, okay, because America, those small hands, they got a lot of aircrafts. America does, okay, they got way more aircrafts than pilots. But when you blow up the whole plane, okay, you lose the pilot, okay, and you can't train, all right, a pilot, okay, and then in 6 months, okay, especially for combat action. You see, it don't work like this. So you lose a pilot, that's a major, major blow, okay, to your Air Force, man. All right, your ability to be effective in your Air Force. And Ukraine lost 11 pilots and engineers, man. You can't replace them in the middle of the war. Where you gonna train them at? Okay, if I'm the opposing military and I begin to shoot down your planes and pilots, all right, where the hell you gonna train some new ones at and we at war? Okay, where they gonna fly it? To where they just gonna be chilling and training? Nah, boy, you coming down, boy. And they were shooting and they destroyed these planes on the ground. They ain't even get to get in the air. Okay, so we're going to see some back and forth, and we're going to see the tide change. With those missile defense systems being activated, man, especially with those hypersonic missiles, man. Okay, so hey, it's gonna get interesting, man. So let's play this. Like I said, I got one more video. All right, and this kind of sum up, all right, where they at in their region with them small hats and Hezbollah. As we know, they killed, supposedly killed the leader of Hezbollah. Okay, and a few more, top, military, officials. So, I say those small hats, they're putting on the campaign. All right, so we're gonna see where it leads to, man. Well, we know where it leads to. We're gonna watch it escalate. All right, because we know exactly, what these things lead to. Okay, and it's this Third World War. All right. Yeah. So let this play.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's Dina Calametta here with CWW7 News. And for today's show, we have a lot to talk about. But I first want to talk about what's happening in Israel, because this could be huge for Bible prophecy. And I'd like to start with this first report from the Jerusalem Post. It is being reported that Israel could begin a limited ground operation in Lebanon in the coming hours. Other news sources have reported that an Israeli incursion could come within the coming days, which follows several Israeli strikes on key Hezbollah officials and infrastructure, namely its former Secretary General, Nasrallah, who was killed, as I'm sure you're already aware. But it goes on to report that a public leak to the Wall Street Journal about small special forces that targeted Israeli incursions into southern Lebanon in order to prepare for a much larger attack, including starting to deal with tunnel ambush issues and also preparing the Israeli public and the world for the reality of a fuller ground invasion. At this point, sources have told the Post that a decision is not final about the shape and size of the ground invasion, though initially it is expected to be limited to southern Lebanon. Defense Minister Gallant said on Monday that the next phase of the war with Hezbollah along Lebanon's border is set to begin shortly, and that this phase seeks to achieve the war goal of returning northern residents to their homes. The Daily Mail has reported that hundreds of Israeli tanks have lined up along the Lebanon border as fears grow over the anticipated ground invasion. Now, this comes as Israel also launched a fresh wave of airstrikes against Houthi targets in Yemen on Sunday, amid fears that the raging conflict could spill out across the region. It goes on finally to report that Israeli troops and tanks were last seen gathering in the north on their border with southern Lebanon in an apparent preparation for a ground invasion. With that being said, it's also been reported that the United States has ordered diplomats' families to leave Lebanon. So obviously the United States knows that it's inevitable that this ground invasion will happen. In the meantime, on Saturday, Iran's supreme leader threatened to levy even more crushing blows against Israel after the killing of the leader in Lebanon. Iranian state media reported that Iran's Revolutionary Guard's deputy commander was also killed in the Israeli strikes. On Saturday evening, Khamenei posted several times to his English X, formerly Twitter account, in which he said that Nasrallah achieved martyrdom and offered a path and a school of thought. In one post, he warned, by the grace and power of God, the blows struck by the resistant front on the worn-out, deteriorating body of the Zionist regime will become even more crushing. In a similar vein, Iran's first vice president warned that this unjust bloodshed will bring about Israel's destruction. Now, something very interesting that the Times of Israel is reporting, but at the same time not surprising, because we know from prophecy, from the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39, that there are three nations, as well as many others, but three nations at the hem that will come at Israel and try to invade Israel. And that is Russia, Turkey, and Iran. So let's read the headline. Russia, Turkey, Hamas, and others blast Israel's killing of the terror chief Nasrallah. So right now we have the three runners mentioned in scripture right here in black and white. So definitely some prophetic events that could occur in the coming days.
So, yeah, now we know Hamas, is not directly Iran, even though they're, supplied, by Iran. Okay. But ultimately, prophecy is the only thing that's making sense. Okay. The only thing that can explain it right now is the Bible. And you see everyone, is trying to make sense of these. You got a lot of people trying to make sense of these things with the Bible. Okay. But at the end of the day, right, we fully understand where this thing is going. Okay. It was set up from the beginning, all right, for the earth was, for these events to take place and ultimately spiral into this third world war. Okay. So, as a matter of fact, let's go here to Joel. We'll end it here. All right. So, the next thing that we're looking for now, all right, is if the small hats going to do a ground invasion. Okay. And how is Hezbollah, going to respond to that ground invasion, and how Iran is going to respond, to this ground invasion. Okay. How much more active is Russia going to get, okay, in their region, okay, as things escalate. So, we're reaching a tipping point, to where this thing is just, a all out just regional conflict, okay, and more fronts opening up. So we'll see. We're watching all these things, man, but that's where we are with the war, man. Russia's being forced to be more proactive in the Middle East. There's a waiting, all right. There's anticipated ground invasion from these small hats, all right. Certain leaders, from Hezbollah and Iran, have been killed in, these barrage of airstrikes these last, week and a few days, okay. And I say things only escalate from here. One thing we know, it can't go backwards. Things might plateau out, for a while, but nothing is going to go backwards. All right. This is Joel 3:9 said, proclaim ye among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty man, let all the men of the war draw near, let them come up. Okay. So the spirit that we see in the earth is a spirit of war. Okay. Everybody, you have a few people trying to call a time out. Let's talk. Let's ceasefire. No, let's keep the party going. Okay. And that's the spirit of the Lord, man. And they've been, other nations been trying to beg, for ceasefires and talks, and this ain't nothing to talk about, man. Okay, it's just time to be active according to prophecy, man. It said beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak sound strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Till the cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai. Because as these nations are being gathered, eventually it's going to usher in Yahweh Shai, who's going to be the captain of the host of the mighty ones, the angels. Okay, Yahweh Shai, who's going to lead the charge. Okay, in this war, where we're seeing the nations being gathered to be judged. Okay, it says, let the heathen be wakened, come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is Yahweh Shaphat. Okay, matter of fact, let's get this word because it's a definition if they haven't changed it. Okay, Yahweh Shaphat. Okay, in the Hebrew is Yahweh. All right, which that's a cut. You know that we have the Most High's name because these first characters, okay, Yahweh, okay. So let's go here. Um, uh, Let me see. Look, they changed it, man. But it goes into Yahweh has judged. Okay, but it used to have the event, the advent of the last, judgment. Because this is where, the heathens, okay, quest for power ends. Beginning with Esau, this is the end of the heathens, quest and struggle for power in the earth. Yahweh Shai is going to put down all authority for once and for all. Okay, so this is their final great judgment on the heathens, before they go into captivity and before, Esau is done away at the end of their 1,000 year, rigorous, okay, ride of iron captivity, man. It said, for there I will sit to judge all the heathen round about. Okay, and all judgment is given to who? Okay, who is all judgment given to? So who's going to come, okay, and be that judge in the earth? All right, St. John 5 and 22, for the Father judging no man, but have committed all judgment unto the Son. So who's going to be executing that judgment in the earth is going to be Yahweh Shai, and that chair is going to be his throne, okay, or his place of judgment. Okay. Jeremiah 23 and 5. It says, behold, the days come, said the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. Okay, so Yahweh Shai, is going to come in the midst of this war to issue our judgment, man. Okay, which he's going to destroy, okay, the militaries of the earth. All right, and the remnant of you heathens is going to captivity, man. Okay, under Yahweh Shai and the elect. All right. So it says, in his days, Judah shall be saved and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is his name whereby he shall be called the Lord our righteousness, man. So, yeah, that's the point. I just want to go into that, kind of, just been watching things and kind of let things unfold and, get to a point to where it's a good point to report on. But that's where we at, like I say. So, these next coming days are going to be interesting, to see what happens, see how, certain sides respond. Okay. And Lord will, we'll be back, going into it, man. All right. So, yeah, that's the point. All right. Pray that you brothers and you sisters edify once again. We'll give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great example to each other brothers, and peace and blessing, salutation, and hopeful. Shalom.